Welcome to Movie Caps. Today I will show you a comedy, crime, drama film from 2015, titled Focus. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The con man Nicky Spurgeon goes to a bar in New York City. There he sees a beautiful...
Okay. What about this one? Is it good?
Beautiful young blonde woman
is it toast or not?
who seems...
Okay, whoa. This seems like it's gonna get toast. Is there any toast in there or not? Guys. Look at this. It looks like this is gonna fuck me over. You sure? Okay. I'll put it first when I go upstairs.
...to be pestering her. She flees from him and goes to Nicky's table to use him as a scapegoat. Her name is Jess. After a few drinks, she seduces Nicky into going upstairs to her hotel room, and they start making out.
Okay, chat, I asked. Guys, I asked! Anybody?
Then a man storms into the room with a gun and threatens to shoot Nicky. Jess says that he is her husband. Nicky then jokes that he has cancer, and Jess figures that he's onto them. Nicky says that the attempt was atrocious, and how they should have done it if they really wanted to rob him before he leaves. Curiosity gets the better of him, and after Jess leaves the hotel, he approaches her and invites her out for coffee. Nicky tells her a story about two partners who were involved in a scam gone wrong, where one partner had to shoot the other to make it appear they were not working together. The partners in question were Nicky's father and grandfather, and one shot the other with something called Toledo panic button. Jess begs Nicky to teach her. He agrees and says that the con is a game of focus. Outside, Nicky explains that attention is a spotlight and their job is to dance in the dark. The human brain is slow and cannot multitask. You have to get inside the victim's head and perceive things from their perspective, he continues as he lifts things from her. He wishes her luck and leaves. Nicky takes his business to New Orleans with his friend Horst and his own team of grifters. On a side note, Nicky has a gambling problem as he loses money on a horse race. Jess finds Nicky a few days later after doing her research on him. She asks him to let her join the team. Nicky agrees to try her out and instantly introduces her to Horst. He knew Jess was coming. It's Super Bowl week and the town is packed with people. Jess joins them for a practice round. They lead her through the crowded streets where they swipe watches, purses and other jewelry from unsuspecting people. Nicky is impressed and she gets to join the team. They also take her to a hotel casino where they let her in on even more of their schemes, like identity theft and credit card forgery. They even set up fake ATMs to record the PIN codes. Jess meets Nicky's friend and partner Farhad. He's involved in even more complicated schemes. Farhad basically ignores Jess' existence and asks everything about her, even if Nicky will be tapping that because he surely would. Despite his behavior, Jess still takes a liking to him. When explaining to Jess what they are doing with the stolen data in their base and how they are splitting the profits percentage-wise, she notices a necklace she likes, but Nicky tells her that everything they steal has to be sold, so there's no proof. When Jess inquires to Nicky about a big con, so big that they can retire on the spot, he just says that they are in a bulk business and that big scams are just a fantasy. While all the bags are checked and the money is counted, Nicky asks for a cash stack to bid on a racetrack. Nicky gets Jess a place to stay and when she asks him for a lift, he tells her she'd better get a cab. He points out to her that there should be no romantic relationship between them. Sometime later, he comes to her anyway and they start getting it on. Jess asks Nicky why some people call him mellow. He says his dad used to call him that because he told him he was soft like a marshmallow. Nicky believes that there is no room for heart in this game because it can get you killed. The night before the big game, when all the cheating is through, Nicky turns to the team and congratulates them on a record-breaking week that brought in $1.2 million. He sends everyone home with the usual promise to send them their cut. Horst gives Nicky the bag of money and makes Nicky promise that he will not gamble with it. Nicky promises as Jess looks on. Nicky and Jess are going to a football game.
He's twisted.
Jess mentions that she does not like football, so Nicky makes a game of making little bets with each other, like whether one fan will catch a hot dog and whether another will be too drunk to stand up for the weight. They see a woman in short shorts and bet how many men will look at her butt as she walks by. Jess bets 8 and Nicky bets 3. A curious man named Mr. Liuyan joins the game and bets 5. 7 men look at the woman's butt as she walks by, with Jess being the closest. Liuyan suggests they place some bets on the game. Jess declines, since she does not know anything about football. Nicky accepts his suggestion and they bet $1,000, with Nicky losing. When Nicky wants to fold, Liuyan practically begs him to play along. Reluctantly, Nikki agrees and raises the bet. He loses and gives him the stack of bills. The stakes escalate as the two get going. After losing $100,000, Jess thrusts the bag of cash into Nikki's arms and tells him they have to leave. He takes the money, slides it on the table,
Double
and
down.
bets all of the remaining cash, $1.1 million, on a simple high card draw. Liuyan is thrilled, he calls and draws a 5. Nikki is elated as the odds are in his favor. When he turns the card over he sees a 3. He loses everything their team has been working on. Jess sits down in shock and Nikki just stands there stunned. Nikki finally has enough and wants to leave. Mr. Liuyan goads him again, that's what you get for playing with the big boys. Nikki turns around and decides to double the bet again. He tells Liuyan to pick any player on the field, and he will guess which one it is, a seemingly impossible chance. Mr. Liuyan thinks he's crazy and does not bet on crazy people, so he declines. Nikki sweetens the deal by saying Jess will pick the player Liuyan saw, much to Jess' dismay. Liuyan cannot turn down free money, so he picks a player. As Jess nervously looks through the binoculars, Liuyan gives them a chance to back out. Jess looks to Nikki, who seems to be begging him to take this chance to back out, but Nikki tells her to pick. Jess nervously scans the players again. Suddenly, she spots Farhad, who is wearing a number 55 jersey. She grins and picks him, and to everyone's, but Nikki's surprise, that's the right answer. On the cab ride home, Nikki, now carrying a lot of money, explains to Jess that this was planned from the beginning. He knew Liuyan was a notorious gambler, so he set it up so Liuyan would see the number 55 throughout the day, subconsciously making him pick that number when the moment was right. Nikki then has the taxi pull over while another car pulls up behind them. He instructs the cab driver to take Jess to the airport. He leaves her share of the money and drives off without another word, leaving Jess confused and heartbroken. 3 years later. In Buenos Aires, Argentina, Nikki is working with a billionaire race car owner named Rafael Garriga and his partner Owens. They are in possession of a revolutionary new fuel burn algorithm that will give them an edge in the upcoming season. However, Rafael is worried that this will not be enough. Therefore, Nikki is to pose as a disgruntled former employee of Rafael and sell a fake version to another team owner, McEwen, who is his biggest competitor. As a result, the competition gets slower while he gets faster. Nikki goes to a party at Rafael's mansion. He tells the bartender to pour him water when he asks for vodka on the rocks, since he is an alcoholic, to give the impression that he is getting drunk. Nikki makes conversation with all the guests. When he goes to confront Rafael as part of his plan, he sees Jess coming down the stairs in a stunning red dress and freezes. She kisses Rafael to Nikki's disdain.
What?
He then approaches Jess and she assures him that she's doing fine on her own and has moved on from the deceitful game. Nikki looks dejected and goes to get a glass of vodka.
Oh, she was part of the big plan the whole time, but she didn't know. So the whole plan wasn't the whole plan. It was a whole plan's whole plan. And he has always another level to the game.
He gets poured water instead. Another bartender told everyone about his problem, so he does not even get a drink. After getting drunk on appletinis, Nikki plays his part as a disgruntled employee, but instead of shoving Rafael, he punches him right in the face, venting his pent-up anger at him for being with Jess. After Owens escorts Nikki out, he is approached by McEwen's guard and is given McEwen's credentials, inviting him for a lunch. The next day, while Nikki is having lunch with McEwen, Ricky finds it hard to concentrate on talking to him. He is irritated and stares at Jess, who is flirting with Rafael. They resolve to get back to each other later when they have definitive proof that the fuel-burning algorithm Nikki has is real. He approaches Jess while she's away from Rafael and tells her not to trust him. She turns the tables and asks why she should trust Nikki after he left her behind. As she walks away, she tosses him his wallet, hinting that her game is still on point. Ricky strikes a deal with McEwen for €3 million after data shows Nikki's fake algorithm is credible. Nikki spends a lot of time trying to get closer to Jess, using nasty strategies like the old granny who loses her handbag just to talk to her. Jess tells Nikki everything he wants to hear in a flirty voice, and just before a kiss, she whispers softly, "I have learned a lot since we last met, and I'd love to show you, like how I learned to play men like I just played you." She tells Nikki to stay away from her. She's not falling for his bullshit again. As a last resort, Nikki brings in Farhad to convince Jess that she should give Nikki a break and that he's sorry about New Orleans. He hands her the necklace she had her eye on 3 years ago. Nikki manages to have another conversation with her. He tells her that he has not worked in a few years because it does not feel right and that he even turned to his father for help. Jess gets right to the point. "What do you want from me?" Nikki says he's a different person, but as much as she wants that, Jess has a hard time believing it because he's a fraudulent man. Jess leaves and was followed. When Nicky returns to his hotel suite, he sees Jess sitting next to his door. They make love. The next morning, he tells
Wait! Chill, man.
he tries to get rid of him, but Owen just walks in while Jess tries to stay out of sight. Owens complains about his feelings towards the younger generation and Nicky's lack of progress on the job while pacing around the flat like he's looking for someone. Jess escapes to the balcony where she manages to elude Owens and he leaves after setting down a package. Nicky ends up selling Raphael's real algorithm not only to McEwen but
I say this every day. I'll never stop fucking doing it. Okay. The terms of service for YouTube are not the same as Twitch. The guidelines for the movies is not the same as YouTube. Okay. Every line is different. You can't say, dude, I saw it on TV, man. It's fine.
but to
Shut
every
up.
other
You're
race
fucking
team for
stupid.
the same price. He wishes them all luck and gets the same response. Who needs luck with friends like you? Amounting to about 27 million euros in cash. Nicky receives word that he has been found out, but he hesitates to leave without Jess. With time running out, he grabs his bags and opens the door to see Jess. Sorry I am late. One of McEwen's guards buys unusual things in a shop. The cashier gives him a look. After a quick meal, he checks his watch, buckles up, puts on his protective gear, and floors the gas pedal, ramming into Nicky's car. Jess and Nicky are kidnapped and taken to one of Raphael's warehouses with duct tape around their mouths. He was a spy in McEwen's company to keep an eye on Nicky. Raphael tells Nicky that he knows he sold the real algorithm to McEwen for 3 million, but there is 27 million in his bags, from which he concludes that he sold the algorithm to everyone. Raphael wants to know how he get the real algorithm. He holds Jesse's nose until Nicky starts talking. Nicky finally admits that he used Jess and put a bug on her necklace, so when she returned to Raphael's hotel room, the bug intercepted his computer password.
What?
Jess starts to cry. Raphael laughs because he knows it's a lie and takes the tape off her mouth. She admits to Nicky that Raphael is not her boyfriend, she just wanted his watch, which is worth 200,000. She never slept with him and was not even in his room, even though Raphael kept trying to get into bed with her. Jess did all this to make Nicky jealous and to get revenge. Nicky finally settles for telling the truth, and just as he's about to start, he's shot in the chest by Owens, which horrifies Garriga and causes him to leave. Nicky appears to be bleeding out while Jess cries and tells him she loves him. It looks like Nicky is going to die until Owens says he hit Nicky in the right place to avoid the major arteries, even though he punctured his lung. Owens gets the blood out of Nicky's lungs and brings him back to life. Owens then calls Nicky mellow, making Jess realize that Owens is Nicky's father, Bucky Spurgeon, that he was in on the scam all along and that they just performed the Toledo panic button. The package Owen left Nicky one morning was the real algorithm. Owens drives Nicky and Jess to the nearest hospital.
What?
He reminds Nicky of what he
This
said
is
regarding
so
putting your
shit.
heart into the con game and adds that he'll take all the money. Jess helps Nicky walk to the entrance of the
If you're gonna set up this thing, then why not fucking set up a blank shot or like a pellet gun or some shit like that?
hospital. Nicky grins when he notices that Jess is wearing Garriga's watch on her wrist. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Night Thomas has a dream. Welcome to Film Recaps. Today
If you're gonna link a cap, don't. Okay, last
I'll
one.
show you a dystopian science fiction movie called The Maze Runner. Sit back and enjoy.
I'm gonna mute now because I
Warning,
need to eat fast.
spoilers ahead. Thomas wakes up in an ascending elevator. With him are supply containers marked with WCKD. When the elevator reaches the top, a door above him opens and he's surrounded by a Lord of the Flies type gaggle of young men and boys. Thomas takes off running, but stops when he realizes he's in a small glade surrounded by huge walls. There's nowhere to run to, baby. Gally subdues Thomas and keeps him from trying to run into a maze which is accessible through a door in the wall. The leader of the group, Albie, and his consigliere Newt, explain the situation to Thomas. Once a month the elevator, or the box as they call it, comes to the surface with supplies as well as a new boy. They all live in the glade and call themselves gladers. None of them can remember anything, but after a few days their names come back to them. Each boy is given a different job, some are builders, some are runners. A door opens in the giant wall every day and closes every night, and the door leads to a maze that surrounds the glade. Runners go through looking for a way out. If you're trapped in the maze overnight, the grievers get you and you die, and also the maze changes its structure every night. Albie was the first boy to arrive in the glade and no one knows why they're there. Thomas starts to form a friendship with Chuck, the kid who came up the month before him. He's one of the youngest of the group. That night there's a celebration for Thomas. Gally is wrestling one of the other boys and asks if Thomas wants to have a go. They end up sparring, and when Thomas hits his head on the ground, he remembers his name. That night Thomas has a dream. It's full of fleeting images, but a woman says, "Wicked is good." Albie takes Thomas around to show him more of the sights. The boys carve their names on the wall when they arrive. When one dies, they cross off the name. Thomas tries to fit in, and he's given the task to go dig up fertilizer from out in the woods. While he's there, he's attacked by Ben, one of the runners who was stung by a griever. While they fight, the other boy says, "This is all your fault. I saw you." That boy has what they call the changing. A sting will apparently cause tremendous pain and make you prone to violence. There's no cure for it, so they force the boy into the maze at night just as the doors are closing. Everyone is concerned that there was a griever attack during the day. That night Thomas has another dream. It's more of the lady assuring him that wicked is good, but now he also remembers himself and a girl about the same age sitting across from each other at workstations going over diagnostics. The next day, Albie goes into the maze to retrace Ben's path and find out what happens. It rains during the day. Now it's getting late and Albie still hasn't returned. All the boys gather around the entrance to the maze. Just as the doors are about to close, the lead runner named Minnow appears with a very injured Albie. Thomas rushes into the maze to help them, but the door closes behind him. Minnow and Thomas use vines to suspend Albie's body and try to keep it safe from the grievers. Albie was stung while inside the maze. One of the grievers appears and chases after Thomas. The grievers look like gigantic bed bugs with robot legs and scorpion tails. Thomas and the griever run around a bit as the walls in the maze change. Finally, Thomas is able to lure the griever between two walls that are colliding and squish. Dead griever. As the morning comes, and everyone walks away from the gate, the doors finally open and to everyone's surprise we see the group returning. Gally calls for a meeting of the Gladers where most are excited that Thomas killed a griever. There's another group though, led by Gally, who feel that the rules they have were put in place to keep everyone safe, and ever since Thomas arrived things have changed, like grievers attacking during the day. And, speaking of things changing, the elevator arrives. The boys run out to check what the elevator brought. Inside are no supplies, only a girl. She looks up and says, "Thomas," before passing out. In her hand is a note that reads, "She's the last one ever." Gally calls for Thomas to be punished because non-runners are not allowed in the maze. He doesn't like the fact that the girl knew who Thomas was. He's scared that the elevator hasn't gone back down since they took out the girl. Newt says Thomas can be locked up overnight without any food, and starting tomorrow, he's a runner. Gally is mad with his decision. A bunch of the boys go back into the maze, which further upsets Gally, to look at the carcass of the griever. Inside it they find a weird device that has an electronic display reading the number 7. The device also is marked with WCKD. The boys realize whoever sends them supplies also made the grievers. Minna shows Thomas a map of the maze. There are different outer sections that open each day as the maze changes. Each outer section is numbered. Last night, section 7 was open. The girl is awake. She's at the top of a tower throwing stuff at the boys on the ground. Thomas yells up to her that it's him. She agrees to let him come up. He explains that her memory was wiped, but in a few days she'll remember her name. She says she already remembers her name, it's Teresa, and she remembers Thomas too. He tells her that he's had dreams about her and a lady saying that wicked is good. When Teresa woke up she found 2 syringes in her pocket too. That night, Thomas deals with his punishment of being locked up. Chuck visits him and brings him some food. He also asks Thomas to give his parents a little carved statue that he made.
Crazy, yeah,
even though he doesn't remember his parents, he's sure his parents remember him and miss him.
It looks like
but Thomas gives him back the statue and tells Chuck that he'll be able to give that to his parents himself. The next morning Thomas and Minnow go into the maze along with a device they got from the griever. The device ends up making clicking noises and guides them to a new section Minnow has never seen before. Minnow is also concerned that all of the outer sections of the maze seem to be open. They get to a wide area marked with WCKD loading dock that ends up in a dead end, but the device turns from red to green and opens a new path. That path leads to what looks like some sort of sewer tunnel. The edges of the tunnel have the same slime that the grievers leave. So they go back to the glade. Thomas decides to use one of the syringes on the still changing Albie. It ends up making him better. He then tells Thomas, "You were their favorite." But we don't find out what he means because outside doors all over the maze begin to open and pour out bunches and bunches of grievers. There's a giant griever attack that wipes out a bunch of the boys and destroys much of their village.
What?
Albie is among the dead. Chuck is saved after getting grabbed by one of the grievers. They end up hacking off its tail. After the attack, Thomas realizes that the venom from the griever stings helps the victim remember. So he takes the hacked off tail and stings himself and remembers a little bit more. The maze isn't a prison, it's a test. He sees all of the other boys in incubation tubes. A lot of them are in a panic. He also sees himself as a scientist along with Teresa. The Gladers use the second syringe. Thomas is cured and confesses to everyone that he's one of the people responsible for everyone being there. Gally is furious and he and his group tie Thomas and Teresa to stakes outside the entrance to the maze as an offering. But half the group is still with Thomas, so they free them. Now the Gladers are divided. Thomas tells Gally that he'd rather die trying to escape than die in the glade not trying. Thomas takes the group into the maze.
What?
They get to the loading dock area from before and are attacked by a bunch of grievers again. They go through the sewer tunnel type area and it leads to a locked door. Teresa needs a numerical code to get through. They realize the code must be the sequence in which the maze would normally open. She types it in and everyone goes through a door. Walls crush all the grievers behind them. The kids walk through some hallways until they find an exit door. And that's not me making a joke, it's seriously a regular old exit door like you'd find in any building. They go through and now they're inside the lab from Thomas' dreams and memories. All the scientists are dead and a video starts to play. The woman from earlier identifies herself as Ava Page, and tells the kids that they don't remember this by there was global devastation by something called the flare. She was part of a controversial group called the World Catastrophe Kill Zone Department, you know WCKD, that believed that in testing the kids they could monitor their brains and find a cure. While she speaks, behind her guerrilla soldiers rush in and start killing other scientists. She tells them she's glad they passed the first test and reminds them that Wicked is good. Before signing off, Paige shoots herself in the head. A door opens leading outside. Before anyone can leave, Gally shows up. He has a gun. He says that they all belong in the glade. He goes to shoot Thomas, but Chuck jumps in front of the bullet. Gally gets stabbed in the chest with a knife. Chuck hands the now bloody statue to Thomas and dies. A group, who looks like the gorillas from the video, rushes in and takes the kids outside to waiting helicopters. At first it looks like they're in the desert, but we pull out to reveal that they're outside what used to be a city. Buildings are destroyed and everything is covered in sand. They fly over the maze and the glade, and no one asks why the choppers just didn't land inside the glade and rescue the kids there instead. Paige, alive and wiping fake blood off her head, says that the kids have taken the bait. More kids survived than she anticipated. The maze was a success. Let me know if you would like to see the second part of the movie recapped. Thank you for watching. Check out.
I don't get it, but yeah, man. We'll get insane.
Welcome to Movie Caps. Today I will show you a crime, drama, thriller film from 2006 titled The Departed.
Ooh, is any toes in this shot? It looks good. I want to watch this one. That one's really good. Content cop. No, actually not. Is there any toes in this or not? Yeah, it's a movie. Did you know the movies have titties sometimes? Sometimes even dicky. If that happens, I ban you. I'm gone, man. They make out half naked? When?
Welcome to Movie Caps. Today I will show you a crime, drama, thriller film from 2006 titled The Departed. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Some years ago in South Boston, crime is rampant and Irish-American mob boss, Frank Costello, narrates that he prefers being the architect of his environment and that you have to take what you want in life. He goes to the Park Cafe to collect money from the owner and runs into Colin Sullivan, a teenage American boy of Irish descent who lost his parents and lives with his grandmother. Frank buys Colin groceries
26.
and a comic book and gives him some money. He asks Colin if he does well in school, and when Colin confirms that he does, Frank tells him to find him if he ever wants to earn some extra money. It doesn't take long for young Colin to start working on cars for Frank while learning about his life philosophy and becoming a sort of a protege. Frank tells Colin that people who cross him or try to tell him what to do meet their demise. Fast forward to the present day where Colin is all grown up and in training at the Massachusetts State Police Academy. After his graduation ceremony, he notices Frank's car pull up in the street and heads over. In the car, Frank gives Colin a graduation gift and tells him he earned it. Colin is now officially Frank's mole inside the police. While Colin is busting down doors and running raids in the police force, Billy Costigan, an American guy with Irish roots, is still in training at the State Police Academy. Billy's mother dies, leaving him with no immediate family. Colin passes the detective exam and is welcomed to the Special Investigation Unit by Captain Queenan and Staff Sergeant Dignam. After Colin leaves Queenan's office, Billy goes in. Billy is grilled about his family connections in South Boston, specifically his uncle Jackie, who was a small-time mobster and bookie before he was murdered. They aren't convinced that Billy should be a cop, but they offer him a huge tax-free bonus to go undercover and infiltrate the mob so they can catch Frank Costello. Captain Queenan tells Billy that he'll have to plead guilty to assault charges and do jail time followed by probation and a court-ordered shrink to sell his undercover identity, and Billy accepts. Billy is released after 4 months in prison and goes to his Aunt Kathy's house. He tells his cousin Sean that he got insurance money when his mother died and wants to use it to buy and sell drugs for profit. He assures Sean that he's not a cop. The two of them drive around at night and do drug deals. They go to a bar where Sean strikes up a conversation with Mr. French, Costello's right-hand man, and a few other guys. A man at the bar insults Billy for ordering his favorite drink, cranberry juice. He overreacts on purpose, hoping to catch Mr. French's attention, and smashes a glass over the guy's head. Billy's plan works. French stops the fight, gives Billy some stern advice, and buys him a cranberry juice. Sergeant Dignam addresses the SIU in the conference room at police headquarters. Dignam is the unit's liaison to the undercover section, and he tells the team that they will never know the identities of undercover people because there are too many leaks in the department. He gets the team up to speed with the latest developments on the Costello case. Costello is set to sell stolen military-grade microprocessors to China. Colin and Trooper Berrigan have doors slammed in their face while trying to get leads on the case because the residents of South Boston are afraid of Costello. At the same time, Colin is feeding Frank inside information to help him dodge the bullets. Colin meets Madeline, the police psychiatrist, in an elevator. He tells her that he knows who she is and that he's a state trooper but also studying for a law degree. When Madeline gets off the elevator, Colin prevents the door from closing. He makes it clear that he won't stop trying until she agrees to have dinner with him. She is flattered and hands him her business card. Billy is eating breakfast at the Park Cafe while 2 Italian-American gangsters threaten the Pakistani owner over outstanding debt. Billy beats them up to strengthen his resume as a hardened criminal. He takes them down swiftly but breaks his hand in the process and leaves the cafe. Colin and Madeline are having dinner at a French restaurant. They talk about Madeline's job and enjoy a pleasant evening. Billy is drinking cranberry juice at a bar in South Boston when Frank Costello walks in and pulls up a chair next to him. This is what Billy's been trying to achieve, but he pretends that he doesn't know who Frank is. Frank orders Billy to follow him to the back room. He tells Billy that the Italian guys he beat up are connected to the mafia in Providence and that they'll be coming back to kill him. He says he can stop it and asks Billy if he wants him to stop it. They talk about Billy's late father while Mr. French searches Billy. He announces that Billy is clean and then smashes his injured arm against a table, breaking off his cast. Frank walks over and interrogates Billy about being a cop while hitting his arm with a boot. Billy is in serious pain but continues to deny that he is a cop. Frank forces him to agree that he'll stop dealing drugs with his cousin and gives him a stack of cash to get his hand taken care of. Colin and the police are investigating the case of 2 dead Italian Americans from Providence, the men that would have come back to kill Billy. Colin phones Madeline and asks to meet up for lunch. After he hangs up, he switches the SIM card in his phone and phones Frank to tell him about the investigation. Frank tells Colin that he framed someone for the murders and tells him where to find the gun that will prove the other guy is guilty. Afterwards, Frank is eating breakfast and discussing his possible uses for Billy with him. He whips out a severed human hand and puts it on the table. Billy is shocked. In the bathroom, Billy rips off his wire and throws it out the window. Queenan and Dignam, who are listening in on the conversation, are disappointed that they can't hear the rest of it. Billy is walking along the harbor while he speaks to Queenan on the phone. He tells Queenan that he won't wear a wire again. Billy is visibly shaken by Frank's tactics. Queenan informs Billy that Costello is selling military microchips to the Chinese and tells Billy to let him and Dignam know if he hears anything about it. Back at the office, Colin addresses a small team of officers. He tells them that Queenan is compartmentalizing the SIU, which he thinks is a good thing because Costello might have a rat in the state police and he doesn't trust half the cops. Frank and Billy are at a restaurant talking about Billy's dad, William Costigan Sr., while a surveillance team takes photos of them. Frank says that William would have killed anyone he had to in order to kill him if he saw the two of them talking. Colin's Special Investigation Unit has one of Costello's men, Fitzy, in custody. Fitzy has already beeped his lawyer but hasn't heard back from him yet. Colin pretends to be Fitzy's lawyer and goes into the interrogation room. Colin gives Fitzy a phone and tells him to tell his mother he won't be home for supper. Fitzy does as he's told, but he's actually tipping off Mr. French. Billy is at his psychiatry appointment with Dr. Madeline Madden in her office. He tries to get pills from her to deal with his stress. He's having flashbacks of the murder spree that he and Mr. French have been on while he's been undercover. She refuses at first but eventually folds and gives him a script. Madeline tells Billy that it's best if he gets a different psychiatrist. He agrees and asks her out for coffee. Billy meets with Queenan and Dignam. He tells them that he's losing his mind pretending to be someone else. Dignam says that Billy has to keep going or they'll erase his file. This is Billy's biggest fear. Queenan says that they're building a case and Dignam tells Billy that he thinks Frank has a spy in the SIU. In an office, Captain Ellerby is addressing the task team about an operation that's about to go down. They are surveilling a warehouse where the sale of the microchips is going to take place. Colin is caught off guard by this. Ellerby reiterates to the team that Frank Costello is the man that they want to get. Colin tips off Costello. In the warehouse, the deal goes off as planned and the police don't get the evidence they need due to a blind spot in their surveillance. Billy phones Dignam and tells him that he's positive that there's a rat in the SIU because Frank knew everything. He tells Dignam to smoke the rat out. Billy, who is looking more stressed by the minute, goes to a cafe to have coffee with Madeline and she tells him that she's already in a serious relationship. One day, Billy is roughing up a robber in his home for not giving Frank a share of the money. Afraid for his life, the robber divulges that Frank is an FBI informant and that's why his crew never gets caught. Billy is shocked by this and later tells Queenan about it. Billy and other members of Costello's gang are summoned to a warehouse to complete paperwork with their personal details. They're told to put their forms in the same envelope labeled Citizens Trust. Billy fills out his form, labels the envelope, and leaves. He goes to Madeline's apartment where she is busy packing boxes because she is moving in with Colin. Billy and Madeline talk, kiss, and make love on her bed.
Oh my god, I thought she was actually naked.
Frank and Colin meet up in a movie theater where
oh
Colin
my
receives
god, my heart just stopped. I thought she was actually naked. Fuck, man.
Envelope and leaves. Billy has been watching from a dark row all along but hasn't seen Colin's face, so he follows him out of the theater and through downtown alleys. Colin gets suspicious and ends up knifing a restaurant employee who is taking out the trash. He manages to lose Billy in the confusion. Colin and Dignam run into each other at police headquarters and they exchange harsh words. Dignam accuses Colin of being a rat and Colin yells at Dignam that he needs the identities of his undercover agents. Later at home, Colin tells Madeline that if he wasn't a state trooper he could finish his law degree in a year. He also contemplates moving to another city, which Madeline says wouldn't be a bad idea. Alone in his office, Colin opens the envelope that Frank gave him and begins searching the names on the computer, but finds nothing. He realizes that he will find the mole if he follows Captain Queenan, so he puts him under surveillance. At a bar, Costello has rounded up a team of new guys and tells Billy he can have the night off because he's using the new crew tonight.
Okay. Billy... Chat, nobody asked for this chat, guys, I think I just got confused. Holy fuck. Dude. I've been into events, right? And places, right? With certain companies that linked my my Uber Eats to like company accounts temporarily because they had funding for food, right? And I just bought some food and it said just exceeded fucking daily allowance. Does that mean that I've been ordering on fucking company fucking cards for dude I didn't even know, man. I had no idea.
He leaves the bar and phones Queenan. He tells him that Frank
so who's been paying for my food then?
Is moving drugs with all new guys, but that it might be disinformation. A bit later, Frank phones Colin and asks him if he's heard anything about drugs or new guys. Colin says no and tells him to relax because he would have heard about it if someone in the department knew. Costello hangs up and tells Mr. French that Billy's not the rat. Colin is on the phone with one of the detectives tailing Captain Queenan, who follows him into an abandoned building. On the rooftop, Billy tells Queenan that Frank has dope coming in but he doesn't know where. He says that Frank is getting spooky, that he just saw him and he had blood all over his hands. Billy reiterates that Frank is losing his mind. He gets very agitated as he tells Queenan that Frank is going to kill him when he finds out who he is. Queenan can see that Billy is getting desperate. He apologizes to Billy for the trouble and promises to get Billy out. Meanwhile, Colin phones Frank and tells him that he has
Nah, I just realized the daily limit is more than I always order in any order. So I probably just clicked non-personal by accident somewhere, right? And it didn't go through because the limit is too little.
The mole and that Queenan is meeting with him right now. He gives Frank the location and Frank sends his crew to deal with the mole.
Yeah,
Delahant, one of Frank's crew members, phones Billy and tells him that they found the rat and gives Billy the address. He tells Queenan that he was followed by Costello's people and they hurry to the door on the rooftop. The surveillance unit pulls up in a car outside the building, just as Costello's men are getting out of a van with loaded guns. The detectives assume that Queenan must be meeting with Costello's crew and inform Colin over the radio. Colin tells them that Queenan must be their guy. Billy and Queenan are heading down the staircase but it's too late. Frank's guys are already coming up. Queenan tells Billy to take the fire escape while he stays behind. Outside, Billy is scurrying down an alley when Queenan lands on the road right in front of him. Costello's crew exit the building as Billy is hunched next to Queenan's dead body. Fitzy yells at Billy for being late and orders him to get in the van. One of the detectives gets out of the car and shoots Delahant in the stomach, which prompts all the detectives to open fire. Fitzy fires back at the detectives and wounds one of them in the shoulder. Costello's men quickly get into the van and drive away. At the police station, Captain Ellerby is questioning Colin about why Queenan went into the abandoned building. Dignam asks Colin why he was having Queenan followed in the first place, to which Colin replies that it's internal investigations business. Dignam starts punching Colin until Ellerby and the rest of the men break them up. Colin tells Captain Ellerby that he has reason to believe that Queenan was killed by his own undercover guy. Dignam yells that it's a f***ing lie. Colin demands access to Queenan and Dignam's locked files, so Ellerby tells one of the cops to work with the tech guys to gain access to the files and instructs Dignam to take a leave of absence, but he quits instead. Frank's crew is taking stock of what happened at an empty bar. Fitzy asks Billy where he was, which leads to a heated argument. Delahunt summons Billy to the couch that he is lying on. He tells Billy that he gave him the wrong address when he called him, but Billy showed up at the right one. Billy reaches for his gun as Delahunt grabs his arm and asks him, "Tell me why I didn't tell nobody?" Before drawing his last breath, Billy realizes that Delahunt was also an undercover cop. He gets up and declares that Delahunt is dead as he leaves the bar. Billy is sitting on a bench, waiting for Madeline outside her office building. Madeline walks up to him. She can see that he's troubled and strokes his hair as he leans into her. Madeline steps back and tells Billy that she can't be a friend to him. She says she's sorry and walks away sadly. Billy sighs with disappointment. Colin is alone at police headquarters. He takes Queenan's phone off an evidence table and dials the last number called. Billy is unsure whether or not to answer his undercover phone when it begins vibrating. He answers but doesn't say anything. Neither does Colin. Billy hangs up and packs a bag. He phones the number back and asks who he's speaking to. Colin says that he's Sergeant Sullivan and that he's taking over Queenan's unit. He says Dignam is on a leave of absence and asks Billy to come into the station. Billy hangs up again. Colin goes back to the table containing evidence and reads Queenan's notebook. He is thrown by an entry about Costello being an FBI informant, a fact that he was completely unaware of. Frank and his crew are en route to a warehouse to pick up drugs when he gets a call from Colin warning him that he's being tailed by 2 cars. Frank yells at Colin to get rid of them. Colin says, "All right," and hangs up. He heads over to the surveillance office and tells Ellerby that he spoke to Queenan's undercover informant and he knows where Costello is going. Back in Frank's car, Frank sees the tails exit the highway and is satisfied that Colin obeyed his orders. Meanwhile, Billy sends Colin the location. At the warehouse, Frank's men conduct the deal and all get in their cars to leave, except for Billy, who hides in the back of the warehouse. As the cars are leaving, the police vehicles block them off at the exit. A gunfight erupts and Frank's crew is shot down. Costello has a gunshot wound to the stomach. He is hiding behind a tractor and phones Colin, who emerges with a gun in his hand. He grills Frank about being an FBI informant and asks him if they know who he is. Frank assures Colin that nobody knows about him while coughing up blood. Colin insults Frank about not having any sons. Frank takes a shot at Colin but misses. Colin fires back and kills Frank. Everyone applauds Colin when he walks into police headquarters. Billy is waiting in his office. Colin walks in and introduces himself. He tells Billy that he'll be recommending him for a Medal of Merit, the highest honor they've got. Billy says that all he wants is his identity back and the money they promised him. He gives Colin the password to his locked undercover file. Colin leaves the office to make printouts of Billy's file. While he's out, Billy notices the envelope labeled Citizens Trust underneath a pile of papers on Colin's desk. He realizes that Colin is the mole and leaves. Colin goes back to his office but Billy is gone. He sees the envelope on his desk and understands that Billy knows who he is, so he deletes Billy's file from the police database. Billy goes to Madeline's office. He gives her a buff envelope and asks her to keep it safe. He tells her to open it if something happens to him or if he calls her and tells her to open it. Madeline starts to speak but Billy interrupts. He says that she should think about whatever it is and tell him in 2 weeks if she still wants to. Later, Colin is sleeping when Madeline puts a white envelope on his chest, waking him up. He opens it and finds a sonogram. Madeline is pregnant with a boy. Colin kisses her. Moments later in the living room, Madeline is sorting through the mail and finds an envelope from Billy addressed to Colin. She hears Colin getting into the shower, opens the envelope, and pulls out a CD labeled, "Play Me Now." Billy's number is also written on the front cover. She listens to it with headphones on. It's a conversation between Frank and Colin that proves Colin is Frank's mole. Colin comes out of the bathroom and Madeline puts the recording on speaker so Colin can hear. She leaves the room and slams the door. Colin phones Billy, who tells him that Frank recorded everything and gave it to his lawyer for insurance. Billy says that Frank's lawyer gave it to him because Frank trusted him more than anybody. Colin asks Billy what he wants. Billy says he wants his identity back. He gives Colin his location, the abandoned building where Queenan died. As Colin steps onto the rooftop, Billy emerges with a gun and orders Colin to put his hands up. He handcuffs Colin, takes his gun, and tells him he's arresting him. Colin tries to talk his way out of it with no luck. Billy doesn't believe any of his lies. Colin tells Billy that no one is going to believe him because he erased his police file and identity. Billy punches him in the face 3 times and Colin falls to the floor. As Billy picks Colin up, Trooper Brown bursts through the rooftop door and points a gun at them. Billy phoned Trooper Brown because he's one of the few people that know him. They were in police training together. Billy tells Brown that he's the one that called him, while Colin tells him to shoot Billy. Since Colin is a sergeant, Brown tells Billy to drop his weapon. Billy screams that Colin is Costello's rat and that he has evidence to prove it. He takes Colin downstairs in an elevator. When the doors open, Billy gets a bullet right between the eyes. Verrigan tells Colin that he's also one of Frank's moles. While he's uncuffing Colin, Trooper Brown comes off the elevator and sees Billy's body lying on the floor. Verrigan shoots Brown and tells Colin that Frank was going to give them up to the FBI. He hands Colin the gun and Colin shoots him in the head. At police headquarters, Colin feeds the department a story that Trooper Berrigan killed Billy and Trooper Brown before Colin was able to shoot Berrigan and that he was Costello's rat. He recommends Billy for the Medal of Merit. Billy receives a ceremonial
and then Frank comes in and kills him, and then fucking guy comes in and kills him, and police comes in and kills him. Drug dealer comes in, kills him, some crackhead kills him too. Gets the money, goes to the casino, boom, gets stabbed, everybody
Madeline
dies.
and Colin are both in attendance but stand on opposite sides of the casket. Madeline is crying and visibly upset. After the funeral, Colin tries to speak with her by asking about the baby, but Madeline walks right past him without blinking an eye. One day, Colin walks into his apartment and is surprised to find Dignam inside. He looks down at Dignam's feet in plastic hospital boots and knows he's fucked. Dignam aims his gun at Colin, shoots him in the head, and leaves without saying a word. The end. Thank you for watching.
What the fuck is happening?
Like to see more videos like this.
I watched the movie, but I forgot this happens. Wait, I've seen this movie. I don't remember everybody fucking dies. So I guess each side gets a +1. Back to back. Bing, 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 bing.